someone might be about to die in the From Season 4 finale. And I do not mean hurt. I do not mean dragged into the woods for another season of waiting. I mean gone for good. And there is a theory building online right now about a brand new creature, something this show has never shown us before, that could be the one to finally take down the man in yellow. So what actually happens to the mission in the tunnels? Does everyone make it out alive? Does Fatima finally turn into one of those things we have all been dreading since Season 1? And who does not make it to Season 5? Because the theories floating around right now are naming names, and some of them are going to hurt. I have spent hours going through every clue this season has dropped, every small detail the show buried in plain sight. And if even half of what I'm about to lay out turns out to be true, this is going to be one of the most brutal endings From has ever given us. Stay with me, because we are about to break this whole thing down piece by piece. Before I go any further, I want to be honest about what this video actually is. This is not a confirmed leak. Nobody has the final 2 episodes. Nobody outside the writer's room actually knows what happens in this finale. What I'm about to walk you through is theory, built from clues the show has been dropping all season, patterns from how previous seasons ended, and small details that fans have picked up on that point towards something big. I am not telling you to treat this as fact. I am telling you to treat it as a roadmap, a possible direction based on everything the show has set up so far. And once you hear it laid out, I think you are going to see why this theory has been spreading so fast. The biggest piece of this theory centers on the mission everyone has been waiting for all season, the mission to get into the tunnels and retrieve the bones. Based on everything the show has been building, it looks like the 2 people who actually go down into that hidden door are Tabitha and Jade, the same door Jade's vision led them to inside the colony house. While the 2 of them head underground, Boyd and his team, likely with Kenny right there beside him, stay up top near the tree everyone has been trying to pull out of that hole for the entire season. If the show follows through on what it has been setting up, they finally succeed. The tree comes out, and they lower a rope down so Tabitha and Jade can climb back up once they have what they came for. Here is where the tension really builds. Once Tabitha and Jade are down there, it makes sense that the creatures would show up. That is what this show does. It builds a plan, lets you believe it might actually work, and then pulls the floor out from under you. But based on the way the tree and the hole have been set up all season, the creatures might not actually be able to reach them right away. With the tree gone, light would be pouring straight down into that opening, and light has always been the one thing these creatures cannot stand. If that holds true, there could be a literal beam of light protecting the space where Tabitha and Jade are standing, something the monsters physically cannot cross. For a moment, it would look like the plan actually worked. They got the bones, they are protected, they should be able to climb right back out. But this is From, and this show has never once let a good plan stay good for long. This is exactly the kind of moment where I expect everything to fall apart, and the most likely person to cause that fall is someone who is not even there when it happens. Sophia has spent this entire season being unpredictable, secretive, and increasingly dangerous. And a theory worth taking seriously is that she is the one who sabotages that rope before the mission even starts. If she quietly weakens it ahead of time, cuts it just enough that nobody notices until the worst possible moment, that would explain a disaster nobody saw coming. While Tabitha and Jade are trapped down in that tunnel with a ladder that cannot be trusted, Sophia could be somewhere else entirely, doing something that ends up being far worse. Something that, according to the patterns this season has built, could directly lead to other characters not making it out of this finale alive. This is the part of the theory that hits the hardest, because it puts actual names on the line, and once you start connecting the clues, it becomes hard to look away from. The first character who keeps coming up in fan theories as someone who might not survive this finale is Marielle. Now, nobody can say for certain how or where this happens, but the Smiling Man has been one of the most consistent threats this entire season, and the timing of everything happening with the tree and the tunnel mission creates an opening that fans have started pointing to. Think about it like this. If the tree hole really is open and creating that protective beam of light during the day, that would mean the creatures cannot move freely in daylight the way they normally do. Which means, if something happens to Marielle, it probably is not happening near the tree at all. It is more likely happening somewhere else, maybe deeper in the caves. Maybe during a moment where she gets separated from the group without anyone noticing right away. The show has not handed us every detail, and honestly, that is exactly why this theory feels believable. A weak theory tries to explain everything perfectly. A strong one only gives you fragments and lets the dread build on its own. The second name that keeps showing up in these predictions is Elgin. And if this turns out to be true, it might hit even harder than Marielle's fate. The theory here connects directly to Sophia and the mission a lot of viewers have been expecting all season, the moment she finally starts going house to house and taking people's talismans. If Elgin happens to catch her in the act, if he confronts her about what she is doing right as she is doing it, that creates the perfect motive for her to silence him completely. She would not be doing it out of cruelty in that moment. She would be doing it to protect her plan, to keep things moving the way she needs them to move, no matter what it costs her. And that is honestly what makes Sophia such a frightening character this season. She is not chaotic for the sake of chaos. Everything she does seems to serve a purpose only she fully understands. As for Marielle, there is a real possibility her fate is not even connected to the tunnel mission at all. It could happen on a completely different night, maybe right after a talisman has already been taken from a house, leaving that family completely exposed without anyone realizing it in time. And that exposure is exactly the kind of opening the smiling man has been waiting for all season. The theory does not lay things out in a clean, perfect timeline, and honestly, that messiness is part of what makes it convincing. Real tragedy rarely happens in a neat order. It happens in pieces, in moments that overlap and collide with each other until the damage is already done. What seems to be agreed upon across most versions of this theory is that both Marielle and Elgin are not making it into Season 5. While all of this chaos plays out around the tree and around town, someone still has to protect Tabitha's kids. And the name that keeps coming up for that responsibility is Donna. While Tabitha is down in the tunnels with Jade, it makes sense that Donna would be the one watching over Ethan and Julie, especially given how protective she has been all season. And here is a detail that genuinely sends a chill through this theory. Many fans believe the poltergeist phenomenon from the season's very first episode, the cabinets flying open, the objects moving on their own in Tabitha's kitchen, never actually got resolved. That scene got completely overshadowed at the time by Jim's death. So much so that the show never directly addressed it again. But shows like this do not introduce something that disturbing just to forget about it. A strong theory suggests it comes back in this finale. And this time, it is Donna who has to face it while trying to keep two kids safe, with no one else around to help her. If that happens, it would not just be a scary moment for the sake of being scary, it would be the show finally answering a question it planted all the way back at the beginning of the season, reminding everyone that nothing in this town ever really goes away. It just waits for the right moment to come back. And the right moment always seems to arrive when the people in town are the most distracted, the most divided, and the least prepared to deal with it. There is another storyline theory that fans have been building all season, and it centers on Henry, the one character who has spent this entire season convinced that none of this is real, that the monsters, the town, all of it is just a dream he has not woken up from yet. Based on how far his denial has gone, and how much worse it has gotten with every episode, a lot of viewers believe Henry reaches the absolute peak of that delusion in this finale. The theory suggests he ends up at the police station, finds the guns Boyd has locked away, and takes one for himself, fully convinced that using it will somehow prove his theory, or wake him up from whatever he thinks this is. From there, the most talked about version of this theory has him going after Victor with that gun, treating him as the person he needs to confront to finally break free of what he believes is a dream. It makes a strange kind of sense if you think about how Henry has been unraveling. He needs someone to blame, someone to point to as proof that none of this is real, and Victor fits that role in his mind better than almost anyone else on the show. But just as that confrontation reaches its breaking point, the theory says Ethan shows up. Ethan stepping in and saying something to Henry, something that actually breaks through whatever fog he has been living in, would fit perfectly with the kind of role Ethan has played all season. The quiet, observant kid who somehow understands more about this town than most of the adults around him. Maybe it is something he says. Maybe it is simply his presence reminding Henry that real people, people who love him, are standing right in front of him. Either way, if this theory holds, the gun ends up on the ground, and Henry finally stops, even if it is not entirely clear in the moment why it actually works. Now we get to the part of this theory that personally has me the most nervous, because if it turns out to be true, it could end up being the most intense moment of the entire season. Back at the tree, back at the tunnel, everything has likely fallen apart by this point. Tabitha and Jade are stuck down there with a rope that cannot be trusted, and the theory suggests Boyd cannot just stand there and wait around for the situation to resolve itself. He and Fatima head into the caves themselves, attempting a rescue despite how dangerous that decision clearly is. And this is where the theory touches on something a lot of fans have been predicting for weeks. During this rescue attempt, in the middle of all that chaos, Fatima could finally transform into one of the creatures. Think about how long the season has spent building toward that exact possibility. We have spent an entire season wondering when it happens, wondering what triggers it, wondering if Fatima even knows it is coming. If this theory is correct, it happens right here, right in the middle of trying to save Tabitha and Jade, which would be devastating in the most from way possible. She turns, and suddenly the people she came to save are now in danger from her too. This is not confirmed, and I want to be clear about that. But logically, it lines up. Fatima has never gone into the caves before. The caves are where these creatures seem to be the strongest, where whatever triggers this transformation appears to be most active. If there was ever a moment for the show to finally pull this trigger, walking into that cave during a moment of complete crisis is exactly the kind of choice this show has made before. And here's the question that should keep you up at night if this theory ends up being true. Is it permanent? Are we heading into a season 5 where Fatima is no longer Fatima? Where she is just another creature wandering those woods? Picture Ethan staring out a window at the colony house, watching something walk past that he knows used to be someone he loved. That is the kind of gut punch this show has built its entire reputation on. And honestly, a part of me is hoping this theory turns out to be true, because it would completely change the direction of everything going into next season.